Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and in this video we're breaking down What If. Throughout this video we're going to be going through all the Easter eggs, hidden details and things you might have missed in it. Now obviously the both of you that religiously follow the channel, you're probably like, why are you doing episode 5 mate, where's 1 to 4, where is it? Well, I just want to offer my sincerest apologies, but man had to swap theory time for family time at Christmas. My editors also requested the week off to be with theirs too, and thus your boy's going solo on this one. I write the videos, host the videos, edit the videos too, but yeah, I just didn't have time to do those first 4. However, I'll try and cover as much as I can, and I hope you guys are with me so we can watch them together and hit the thumbs up together. I have to say though, I've really enjoyed the season so far, and I think it's been leaps and bounds above season 1. Anyway, I hope you had an amazing Christmas, and what I wanted was the same thing that Steve wanted. That is the Hydra Stomper suit, which is what this episode centers around. Now Peggy is of course a returning character, with her being what kickstarted the first episode of What If. She of course also featured in Multiverse of Madness and showed that she couldn't do this all day. Still though, it's nice to see her back, as she's genuinely one of my favourite spin-off characters in the MCU. Man's even got the t-shirt, and I also own both the Steelbook Agents of Carter. She's like the bloody queen to me, and we see in her world how important she was to the Avengers. Kickstarting with a scene pulled directly from the film, we watch as the group fight it out on the bridge that leads up to Central Station. Not sure what it's called, but moving on, several shots here rip off the moments in the movie, including Black Widow taking down Chitauri with their own weapons. Widow also mentions her childhood in Moscow, foreshadowing several events in the episode. From here we cut to both Iron Man and Hawkeye, but there's a different member instead of the Hulk. Here we can catch the Wasp, with her being a member of the team originally in the comics. She of course featured earlier in the season as well, and it's nice to get a Marvel comic mainstay. You of course can't play on stuff like this without doing the Avengers Assemble moment, which actually appears twice in this entry. We then see as the Leviathan descends from the sky, with Carter's line riffing off Steve's in the movie.
So Cap, what's the plan?
Hawkeye, Wasp, I want eyes in the sky.
I want you on that roof, eyes on everything, call out patterns and strays.
Iron Man, Thor, keep the fighting down here.
Stark, you got the perimeter. Anything gets more than 3 blocks out, you turn it back or you turn it to ash.
Can you give me a lift?
Right.
Widow, let's go for a ride.
I like it.
You and me, we stay here on the ground. We keep the fighting here. And Hulk, smash.
Rather than saying Hulk smash though, she and Widow go for a ride. This of course builds off the back of what happens in the film, with Carter also using the shield to boost her up. At Avengers Tower they take down Loki, and you better hope man doesn't wipe his arse with this timeline. Anyway, I was surprised at some of the voice cast, because it sounded like a lot of them were just voice actors that were just doing impressions, but no, Sam Jackson, Atwell, Frank Grillo, Sebastian Stan, Rachel Weisz, and Elizabeth Olsen, they're all in it, and maybe I need to get my hearing checked out or something. Anyway, we cut to the Watcher, where we see him in between the multiverse. This is similar to what showed up in the Infinite Ultron episode, with the Widow shard coming directly from that. There's also Thanos from episode 2, and Iron Man when the Avengers were killed by Hank Pym. Focusing on Peggy, who replays the clips from her episode, while we can catch the zombie episode clip and Gamora's one too. Lastly, we get moments from the finale and see that Assemble's one before then heading out the limbo bar. Seeing Peggy drive along, we then get a flip on the start of Winter Soldier. In that it was Natasha picking up Steve, whereas here, Nat's the one that's been jogging. In the back we can also catch the Washington Monument, which of course was the route that Steve used to take. Nat, she was bloody calling Steve a fossil, and then we dive into another moment from the end of season 1. That is at the Lemurian Star, which is of course also from Winter Soldier. In the film, this was where Project Insight was supposed to launch satellites from, but the ship was hijacked by George Batroc. We know from the end of season 1 that they fought Batroc as well, but I'm not sure what's going on because Bucky Barnes is in charge here. This is instead of Alexander Pierce, so Insight isn't happening, unless our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. timeline's still going down where it was made in the 70s. Also, I love how Peggy's suit's more in line with how Steve's was in that film. I know that it's been in the series before, but here it just makes way more sense. Now if you love clothes, shameless plug, we're actually selling an all-connected shirt right below the video. It's all connected, you know, it's dead funny when I say that, isn't it? Everyone's sitting about laughing. So if you want to buy that and give me money for it, then yeah, just click that below and we'll love you forever. Now the reason they're here is instead to investigate the Hydra Stomper, which has been found inside a storage container. I was thinking, right, I'm sure the season 1 finale, they didn't have red rockets in the Soviet stuff, but nope. Went back and that had it in. So yeah, they had this ready to go, but I wasn't expecting it to turn this bad. Whereas Peggy became Cap, Cap became the Winter Soldier, which means he's been brainwashed to be a Soviet asset. The Hydra Stomper designs also changed too, so now it looks more in line with the Ironmonger. You might also notice there's red stars on the shoulder plates, which highly resemble what was on Bucky's arm. Anyway, Nat calls him RoboCop, which Peggy says that she hasn't seen. What do you mean you haven't seen it? Go to Arrow Films, they're doing a sale right now if you use the code Heavy Spoilers, where you'll get 10% off and you can buy RoboCop on 4K. Now this is riffing off the Winter Soldier when Steve kept a notepad of all the stuff that he needed to catch up on. Peggy, however, she isn't that interested because deep down she's a completely different person. This is also why she wasn't jogging either, and I appreciate them sort of being opposites to each other. Still though, she's got feelings for Steve as we get a slow motion flyby where the pair lock eyes. Steve then ends up flying into the sky, and I was wondering if they were going to have it icing over. Guessing the Soviets dealing with the cold figured it out before the Americans did, and he ends up raining down missiles from the air. Now from here we cut to Nick's office, which is also pulled directly from the film. Legends of the Hydra Stomper have been whispered throughout the ages, in the same vein that Bucky was said to be out there. However, they've added in a curveball, with this now being caused by the Red Room. Hydra has been likely stomped out by the Hydra Stomper, hey? So instead it's the Red Room that's now brainwashed him. We also have Bucky in charge, so yeah, they didn't infect him and use him to take over the world. Pierce is missing, and look, I'll stop going on about it, you get it. Now at this point we get a wide shot of the Triskelion, which in many ways is an opposite to the Red Room. The Red Room's sort of a dark mirror of it, in which it operates from the skies hidden in the clouds. This is using helicarrier tech, which helps it to remain in orbit undetected. Inside we also catch the other characters from the Winter Soldier, like Councilman Singh, Councilwoman Hawley, and Councilman Rockwell. We also get this line about the Sokovian aid package.
Surely you understand that the Sokovian aid package is...
I won't have a country torn apart by civil war because we didn't do the right thing.
And the Sokovian Accords, of course, showed up in Civil War, which, hey, it's a nice little line. And at this point, Crossbones pops in, but due to him not being Hydra, he's actually there to help. They're then attacked by the Hydra Stomper, and we also see the command center from the Winter Soldier. Things are broken up, though, by Steve arriving, which also takes us into the lobby that Steve busts into. Pulling off moves similar to Stark, we see as Steve uses his back to bust up the jet. This is similar to what happened in Iron Man, with getting another Avengers reference in the next shot. When the Hulk busts free, a jet puts its sights on him, which appears similar to how it does here. Now Bucky tries to appeal to their past, but Rogers refuses to lower his arms. This is something that happens later with Peggy, showing how much that she means to him. Peggy's the one that can break the hold and make it so that he has to let go.
But I'm not a rapper.
Knocked out, they're picked up by the Widow, and at this point they fly out to St. Kilda's. This is in Scotland, which is something that hasn't popped up in Marvel before, and it's completely off of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s books. I'm guessing that this was a retreat for Widow back in the days when she worked for the Red Room. We also learn that it's the suit that's preserving Steve, and that this is what's kept him alive. However, removing it will kill him, and thus he's sort of become a monster trapped in the machine. Described as biotech, each time he's deployed, the odds of his survival then drop drastically. To me, this is why they want Peggy instead, so they can replace this soldier with something else. Also, the way they pulled Steve away and have retreated is a bit like what they did with Bucky during Civil War. Instead of Sam and Steve, we have Bucky and Nat, who will do whatever they can to protect Steve Rogers. Now Peggy says how he could wind up frozen in carbonite, which you get, mate, yeah? Give yourself a pat on the back for getting that one. Deciding to go to the Red Room, we learn the previous owner Dreykov was tracked down and killed by Nat, who is a character that of course appeared during Black Widow. However, due to its ability to move, the Red Room's been constantly going and is almost untraceable. From here they travel out to a Sokovian military base, again building off the back of Civil War. This is basically a nuke town set up to carry out tests, and it resembles a 1950s one like we saw in Indiana Jones. Peggy says,
I feel like I'm in a horror movie, and we once fought a giant space squid.
Calling back to the time she fought Shuma Gorath, or was it Gargantua? Either way, the olden town gives Peggy and Steve time to reminisce, and we can hear it's been a long time playing in the background. This was something Steve played in his apartment in Winter Soldier, and it's also of course what Peggy and Steve danced to. The pair were destined to be, but life got in the way, and unfortunately they never got to be together. At this point, Peggy's hit with a Widow Bite, which is a weapon we've seen bust out in several of their appearances. The town turn on them, and we get the pair smashing them like it's a like button, which is when we get a bird's eye shot. This reminds me a lot of the opening of Ragnarok, in which we saw Thor throwing round Mjolnir. Widow also talks about how they didn't get cable TV in Russia, and Wanda of course had to watch old sitcoms on VHS to keep her entertained. In the end, Melina arrives, with her taking over the position of Dreykov in the power vacuum. She's also joined by a group of widows who resemble the ones that we saw on Black Widow. As we saw in that, Melina was a maternal figure, with Widow also referring to her as that. She was working with Dreykov secretly, so her being here, yeah, it does make sense. Now it's at this point we learn Steve's true mission, which was to bring in Peggy. The plan was to lure her away from the Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D., with her being all that they've wanted the entire time. Also, there's no Red Guardian in this universe because the Russians weren't inspired by Steve Rogers. Instead, all the girls apparently used to look up to her, which has somewhat inspired the Widows. Anyway, it leads to it all kicking off, and we see as Widow takes on the Widows while Peggy faces Steve. We get him shooting her with a Gatling gun, which leads to a similar shot that we got with Steve against Bucky. This is of course a similar situation, with both having to deal with someone from their past. In the end, she manages to convince him by bringing up the date he owes her, which is of course what the man travelled through time to do. Man was desperate, but to be fair, I would do too, because goddamn, check it out, goddamn. However, he decides to sacrifice himself, and basically Independence Day the Red Room up yours! This pulls Melina along with it, due to Widow lassoing her to Steve. Although it seems like he's gone, Peggy still holds out hope. Hitting up Tony's garage, she goes to head out with Widow, but at this point she gets pulled through realities. Now this is likely to 1602, which we know is going to be coming in this season. Seems like both Wanda and Nick here are in ye old timely clothes, and they tease something going on in their reality.
That is she, the one who can save our queen.
Now we'll of course be back for that, and I hope you've enjoyed us going through this. If you have yet, it's Christmas mate, hit the thumbs up button, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. You better come back, and if you want to support the channel as a member of the Spoiler Society, then please click the join button. For 99 cents and 99 pence a month, you'll get early access to breakdowns and also our podcast, the one I do with Greg. If not, then up yours, mate. But yeah, come back tomorrow, please. And if you want something else to watch, then there's a video on screen right now. Huge thank you for coming to Boxing Day with me, and yeah, I'll see you after this. Peace. Bye-bye.